Big tech companies like Google, Netflix, Amazon, Uber, and YouTube handle millions of users, billions of requests, massive databases, real time systems, and the distributed services using the scalable backend architectures. And in this video, we're going to be discussing about the high level big tech architectures in step by step. First, let's see the high-level big tech architectures, that how they basically design their architectures. So first we have the users like us, then CDN, it's basically storing all of the video and images, then load balancers, the API gateway, microservices, the cache layer, databases, message queue, and the background worker. So those are basically the core backend component. CDN, it's used for fast content delivery like video and images. Load balancer for traffic distributions, API gateway for request routing, microservices for independent services, cache for faster reads, databases for persistent storage, QE for the async preprocessing, and worker for the background jobs. This is the core background components of the big tech architectures system designs. Now we are going to divide them into some kind of step so that you can have one idea that how they basically design their system. Let us start from the step number one, that big tech company is basically used. The first one is CDN, Content Delivery Network, and it is used by Netflix and YouTube back because in Netflix you have the content in the form of videos. The purpose is to deliver the images and videos faster. Also reduce the latency of that. Second one is a load balancer. It basically distributed the traffic across the server. So when you have any kind of traffic, like big traffic is coming, you need to also handle them. That's why load balancer is basically used. So what it can do, it will balancing here your request. Let's say one request is coming from API 1, another request is coming from API 2, and another one is from API 3. This is how the load balancer is basically used. The benefit is the high availability. So if you give here the multiple number of requests, so if you just using here one single API, so thoda heavy ho jayega. That's why the high availability, when you have the multiple number of API in section wise. Then fault tolerance and also the horizontal scaling, you know that if you are learning system design before. Third one, step number 3 is API gateway. It basically acts as an central entry point because in your system you are basically creating here some kind of API. So it first one, the responsibilities, the authentications, the rate limiting, very very important, the routing and the monitoring of the system. The fourth one is microservices architectures. Microservices are the monolithics. Means microservices mean instead of one giant application, it means that you are just using here one tech stack. So instead of using just only one tech stack, you can use a multiple of that. Let's say you are creating here an auth service, which is different. Let's say you are creating here an product services, or you create here payment services, notification services, and recommendation services. Let's say you are creating the auth services using, let's say, JavaScript, and this one, let's say you are writing this one, let's say .NET. Payment system, let's say you are writing in the Rust, and notification service, let's say you are creating here using here the Firebases or any kind of programming languages. And last one is recommendation systems or recommendation service. Let's say you are creating it using Pythons. So in case of microservices, you can using a different tech stacks, and you don't need to do it in a single tech stack. In mean that instead of using here one giant application, you can divide them into some kind of services. So each services has its own databases. For each services, you can using here the multiple number of database. You can use the MySQL, you can use a NoSQL, you can use any of them. Deploy it independently. You can also deploying the product one, or you can deploy the payment services independently and scale here independently. That's why microservices is very very important topics. Okay, so this is how the big tech company is actually handling this kind of million types of users. Okay, now step number 5 is database layer. So big tech is basically using the SQL databases or NoSQL or distributed databases. Example, the PostgreSQLs, MongoDB, NoSQL, and Cassandra is distributed storage. Cool. The sixth one is cache, the Redis cache. So without cache, your request is directly go to the database, and from database, you need to access the data. So it's quite slow because you are requesting to the database. For the fetching the data, it may be taking some milliseconds or seconds. But while you are basically using the cache, your request is directly go to the cache, means Redis, and which one is quite faster than database. Let's say community is searching something, which one is very right now populars or virals. So what I can do instead of just pinging to the database or fetching the data from the database, you can basically store it inside and cache, because this is a highly available data. So if the data is highly available, like your profile names or your profile pictures or any kind of information which is highly available, you can store it inside and cache, so that you can firstly accessing the data from here without calling to the database. Because if you are calling the database again and again, so your cost is also increases. So instead of calling the database again and again, you can using the Redis cache. So use for the sessions, the trending post, you can say trending post, the user profiles and API responses. Very, very important. The trending post, so let's say one post is trending. So you don't need to pull the data from the databases again and again. You can easily store it inside the Redis. Let's see one Python Redis examples. So you can import Redis, you can see host is localhost, and you can give it to any kind of prod, and r.set, let's say knowledge structures, and print, you can print this out. This is how you can basically store in the data from in our Redis without calling the database again and again. Okay. Step number 7 is message queue. It's look like the postman. Okay. Postman means that I'm not talking about the applications. I am talking about the real postman. Okay. So use when the tasks are basically heavy. Example, let's say sending an email, video processing, and payment processing, because it should be in a job queue. In a job queue. So sending an emails, it's maybe taking time if you have the knowledge. Okay, if you see it before, not knowledge actually, because everyone send the email in here or the live, because you are the engineers. Okay, so how are you basically sending here one emails? It show that QE or in outbox. Okay, so in sending emails, message is queued. Message is queued means, let's say there is 3 messages is coming here. 3 message is coming in the mailbox or other postmans. So postman what it can do? First it will deliver this one, then deliver this one, and deliver this one. So here the postman is basically delivering here these messages. So this message is still in waiting. This message is still in waiting, but after a certain point, it will also execute it. It will also execute it. That's why you can see here the message queue. The technology is RabbitMQ and Apache Kafka. Apache Kafka is very popular. So QE architectures, API server, means QE, and worker servers. Cool. You can see one examples. So you can see query, input query, and you can see the tags, and you can broker, you can give it to here. Broker, I just using the Redis one, and you can see the sending mails. Okay. This is the Python QE examples. Step number 8, it's video processing pipeline. Very, very important. It's basically used by Netflix and the YouTube. Okay. So upload, and it's calling to the API server, and QE because data is basically uploading, and worker is working, and compressions means, let's say I'm going to uploading here, and I'm going to uploading here actually a video, which one is nothing, let's say 1000 let's say MB. Okay, so I see basically the video in the YouTube and trying to download the video, it may be converted into, let's say 400 MB. Okay, let's say 400 MB. So this is called the compressions. So from the 100 MB, it basically compresses the data into the 400s because of the storage. If you upload it here and 16 GB videos, so it may be get here 1 GB or 2 GB. But if you're uploading here that 16 GB video in the servers, YouTube or Netflix को छोड़ देना पड़ेगा क्योंकि it's cost a lot. And the storage or CDN, content delivery network. Cool. Number 9 is authentication system. Big Tech is basically using here the JWT token or OAuth and SSO. But JWT is basically used more. So you can see one code as well from Joe's. We import here the JWT and JWT.encodes, and you can give it here and secret key. Also the hashing algorithms. Okay, 256 SHA to 256. Okay, cool. Now let's see the number 10, the horizontal scaling. You know it very well. Set up bigger servers. You can divide your server in different area. With have some different RAMs. We have different configurations. So more servers means more traffic handling if you have the more server. But if you put all the data in one single server, it's called the vertical scaling. Okay, step number 11 is a database scaling. So read replicas, let's say when you are basically writing anything else, so you can store it inside your master DB. So master database, you can store it, but when you are basically read it, you can read it from a replica database. Let's say we have a master database. Let's say the master database, let's say in Delhi. Okay, let's say in Delhi. So in Delhi, we have the master database. Now same website I can actually access from the Kolkata. I can access from Kolkata. So you can say that I can access from Kolkata. Okay. So Delhi is nothing but the master database, where you can basically performing the right operations because all of the data is stored inside this master database. And how I need to accessing something, I can easily access is from Kolkata replica DB because in Kolkata we also have a replica DB. That's correct. Sharding means users 1 to 1 million DB1 and user 1 to 2 million is DB2. See why it's basically important? It's basically important in the case of indexing. In the case of indexing, indexing means the first accessing the data. Let's say you have the 2 million of data, 2 millions of data or 2 millions of users. If I am going to see for authentications and try to match the username and password, it's maybe taking more time. But if I say that from 1 to 1 millions, you get the data from the database one. Okay, you if your user is lies from 1 million to 2 millions, you can accessing from the database 2. It means that you don't need to search in database number 1, so time is also reduced. This is how the sharding is basically working. Step number 12 is event driven architectures. The modern system is communicate through an events. Let's say order is created, the payment services and the notification services means that when your order is basically created, it will automatically calling to the payment services. And when the payment is actually executed, then the notification is actually executed. It's called an event, one kind of event. Step number 30 is Kubernetes and container. So big text is deployed using Dockers and the Kubernetes. So benefit is for auto scaling and the self-healings and easy to deployment. So you can see the Docker file, let's say from Python 3.11, the working directory, the copy and running pip install, all the requirements and CMD, UB kernels and everything is on here. Okay, this is how the Kubernetes and container is basically work. Now let's see the step number 14, that's called monitorings. The use tools is the Prometheus and the Grafana. Grafana is also used and for the monitorings. It's basically monitoring for the CPU, that how many CPU is actually allocated, the RAM, the errors, the latency, and also the traffics. This is very important task in terms of monitoring because of if your server is caches, you have to check that if the server is caches due to the RAM or due to the CPU or due to the any kind of latency. Okay. Step number 50 is API rate limiting. Very important system driven questions. It's basically protecting the server from the abuses. Let's say your server can handle the 100 requests, but the users is sending the 1005 requests. So you should say that it's nothing but an rate limiters. It basically happen in the case of the DOS attack. So you can import the Redis and we can create an instance of that, and you can creating here a function for allowing the users. Okay, it basically protecting from the servers from the abuses like the DOS attack from the hackers. Okay, the cap theorems very important in case of the system driven questions. So in the cap theorem, C means the consistency, A means availability, and P means partition tolerance. So you can choose only two, whether you can choose the consistency or availability, whether you can choose the consistency and partition tolerance, or whether you can choose the availability and the partition tolerance. It basically distributed the system trade-off, the cap theorems. Now let's see the real big tech examples in the case of YouTube. So what basically YouTube do, it basically upload and the QE because video is processing, then passing to the workers and compressions from let's say 1000 MB to the 400 MB or 300 MB and store it inside a CDN, mean content delivery networks. For Ubers, for the ride request and matching services and the driver services and the payment services. It basically one kind of microservice architectures. The Netflix, again, CDNs, the recommendation engines, and the streaming the services. Because in the case of Netflix, it will actually show you some kind of recommendations. It's also happening in the case of the YouTube as well. Okay. Now I'll give you an backend engineer roadmap that how can you learn it in a running orders. Okay. First, you can learn the Python. This is the initial criteria. Then first API, the databases, the Redis, the Docker, the QE, the microservice architectures, the Kubernetes, the system designs, and the distributed systems. This is the complete backend engineer roadmap you can basically follow. So that's it for today now. I hope you enjoyed this full tutorial and make sure to subscribe to the channel and share to friends. And thank you and bye bye.